the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up, so I can make a better me.
Welcome back. It's Wednesday. It's 8:30 if you're Irish, and it's that time of night. Me and Fazz digest everything that is the egg-shaped ball. How are you going, Fazz?
I'm very good, my man. Very good. Just when we thought the season was over, it slapped us in the face, this off-season trade period, which historically Carlton supporters usually love. But anyway, it's good to be here. Wednesday. Still on school holidays, so can't complain.
So you're happy? I'm coming home to hyperactive kids. So I mean, that's good. The lovely Amy's in chat. We've got the legend that is Big Gav, and Paula is in. Good evening to you. And like you said, yeah, it's the end of season, but kind of nice, isn't it, to be a Carlton fan, because we don't actually need anything. So we're kind of like window shopping with your nan, isn't it? Yeah. You're just waiting for something to catch her eye and slide in and grab it.
It is a good feeling. It is nice to know, all things said and done. You know, it's been 5-6 weeks since that heartbreak. But all things said and done, looking at our list, thinking about what we need, it's actually nice to sit here and say, well, we're not frantically trying to trade our first round draft pick for a player or going to be negotiating with that dickhead Dodoro or whatever it is. It's just nice to not be involved in it. So yeah, I'm happy about that, to be honest.
I am impressed though. One of us is quite active this trade period, and I'm looking at Fazz. If you are on Twitter, you will see Fazz's eyes pop up, and I've got to say, you've gone the whole hog, haven't you? Because my inbox is full of people asking, "Is Mackay going?"
Look, okay, for our loyal viewers, my goal. All right, one thing I wanted to set myself. I set myself this goal going to preseason. It was like, see how quickly a rumor can take off, and I started to feed a little bit of it a month or so ago. When I was talking about, oh, geez, Sydney with Mackay and Buddy Franklin going and all that stuff, and I just went with it, and it got mentioned on trade radio. I mean, look, it didn't help that I called up and texted as Daz, Maz, Gaz, and Baz. But yeah, Harry Mackay to Sydney has got massive legs. Should it happen, I'll feel like a genius. But to be honest, no. I just bit of fun. Let's see what else I can come up with. This is what happens during school holidays. Yeah, you just. All right, what can I do? And literally yesterday...
I've got to say, Monday, my phone, I'd got in a meeting and come back, and I had about 8 messages going, Harry's evidently off to Sydney. You heard anything? Like, loads. And then someone screenshotted, and it was you with the iron music emoji saying, watch this space. And I'm like, as soon as I saw you, I was like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, well, I called up this morning, Lloydie and Kano, and put it on the agenda, and Kano, he's just, oh, that's a good call, great call. I'm like, yeah, all right, moving on. Like I said yesterday, I texted, what did I say? I've got it here. I texted as Baz, Gaz, Maz, Daz, all from
Shaz.
Yeah, Shaz, all from the same place. So a bit of fun. So.
Well, I mean, there we are. Well, let's delve in to see if there's any Blues news for us to dissect.
Because we want retribution. Oh, yeah, we want retribution. Oh, yeah, we want retribution. Oh, yeah, we want retribution.
So the first cab off the rank is nice and happy. It looks like Blake Acres is coming, heavily reported now through the mediums of his agent, SEN, all the airwaves, that the job will be done finally for a deal which pays us back for the Chera deal. Looks like Nick Austin's good faith is paying off. And it appears to be a future third, which we can link together because that future third from Carlton has been reported numerous times involved in the make weight of the Jackson deal. So 350k is the highest I've seen him reported he's getting at Carlton, plus a future third. I think instead of you texting SEN, you should be calling the police, because what Nick Austin done there needs some hard time. That is robbery.
It's fantastic. A good piece of business. And this is what we talk about, trade periods and trying to win every trade and all this stuff. And people can say what they want in regards to the Adam Chera deal last year. Whatever pick it was it a bit much? Possibly, it's the pick we had. So it had to be the pick we had. But this is an absolute win. Acres for a pick that we probably wouldn't. I mean, we don't use our third round picks. It just doesn't. Most clubs aren't using them anymore. Like, it just becomes just a token traded pick. I'm stoked with it, to be honest. Basically, it's I kind of look at the comparison with last season, where we traded Petrevsky-Seton out and got Lewis Young in pretty much for the same pick. And I know this isn't the same pick, but I'm likening it to the Liam Jones thing. Basically, we're losing Liam Jones. All right, we're going to get a compensation pick, and we're picking up Acres for the equivalent of what that compo pick would be. It's robbery, $350 a year. I think the pleasing thing for me, and we said it off the top of the show, is with the list, the core's there. We've got elite players on every line. The core is there. Just need a little bit of luck, obviously with injuries, but just adding those little pieces. Acres is a piece to that puzzle. Plonk him right in there. Not the sexy name. He'd probably walk into my house right now and be like, "Oh, who's this bloke?" But just not a big name player. But you know what? He's going to be very, very, very important for us. And other than seeing him in a Carlton polo, it's all but official, which is fantastic.
No, I'm with you. And I think the biggest thing for me, when you look at our list, I agree with you. I would say that the 22 all fit and firing, I think has proved it's good enough to compete with the best in the league. So really what we're looking for now, I would say, if I'm going to buy established players, is players that aren't going to be people like, no offense to them, but players like Cunners, who we know he's probably best 22 if the guy's fit, but when he's sat in the physio doc for 7 months, that's no good. And you look at Geelong, you look at the teams that made it, Sydney, they've got depth players that have played nearly the entire year. As I'm covering the draft at the moment, there's players in that Sydney VFL side that literally are in the seniors, but they can't get a game, but they've played every game. Their second fiddle is ready. Geelong are the same as well. Their next cabs off the rank, 9 out of 10 of them are literally have played 22 games at VFL level. They're fit. And then you look at Carlton, and it's like, oh, he's played 6 games. Then he had a 12-game stint in the seniors, and then he came back down to play VFL. Oh, he played 4 games for VFL, then got injured. We didn't see him till round 18. Stem things like that. So that's what Carlton, I think, really to go to the next level, we need 22 first-teamers and then 8 guys that can perform at AFL level. But more importantly, don't know what the sick bay is.
Yeah, and look, that's like they say, the best form of ability is availability, and I think
that's very good, Fazz.
Voss, God, yeah, some of my finest work there. And even Voss said it. Durability, availability. We need blokes on the park, and I tell you what, another little fun piece to just jot this down when the boys return back from preseason training. Let's just see how many player X has picked up a knock. Will be a test for round 1. How many of those will there be? As there always is around about November, December mark. So let's just pray that we stay fit, because I agree, when we're fit, our best, not even just our best 22, our best 12 players are as good as anyone in the comp. So I'm very happy with that.
I agree with you. And the other bit of news is it's all but finalised. Carlton will get a compensation pick for Liam Jones. Now he's announced that the Doggies expected to be in the 3rd round. I am guessing it'll be pick 37. It works out brilliantly in the AFL because it actually fucks the Doggies, and that will probably sway the AFL in the terms of, well, it makes sense. Do you know what I mean? That if they were paying a third, that's their pick in the third. Looks like we'll push them out. And I've got to say, when you look at the third round this year, it is chock-a-block. I've just done 120 draft previews. They're all up now. By 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, there's 120 on there. Just feel for Uncle Pom. But there is a lot of third rounders that are really tasty. So that is a really good pick because there's a lot of the academy players, father, sons, all scheduled to go around there, which gives Carlton just a little bit of a play if they want to maybe approach a side. Sydney have got a couple of academy players. North have got a few. So that could be a huge thing for Carlton if they want to move that third with maybe a future pick and go up to the second round to one of the clubs so they can split their picks. So I actually think Nick Austin will be looking at that and going, Jesus, we've been kissed on the bum here.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That pick 28 and that pick 37, you think it's going to be those two are quite juicy picks when it comes to possibly packaging them up to get into, as you said, an early 20s or even, higher, depending on these father sons academies. Because the one everyone knows about Ashcroft, we all know about Ashcroft, but the one that no one's really talking about is Fletcher. Also has to get to Brisbane, so they're going to be really like, okay, we need to do these trades. And
Fazz has been listening. You turned me on, Fazz.
I love it. And so I'm looking at Brisbane's, that late first rounder or something. Could you somehow package it in and get the 28, the 37, a future, whatever, and then sneak in and I don't know if people are surprised or not, but the club hasn't lied. They've done exactly what they said they were going to do. They were going to attack the draft this year. That they've been consistently saying that all season. So it shouldn't be a surprise trying to get draft picks to attack this draft. And fair credit to them.
I've got to say, covered the draft for a few years now, and this draft, I know what the media are saying to you, it's not very deep. Totally wrong. Right? What this draft is it doesn't have the superstars. So the last 3 years, we've been really privileged with 5 or 6 players that are literally ball-breakingly good, and they stand out. What the media has really missed this year is how good, I would say, the top 50 is in the terms of buildability. So they've all got good core skills. 90% of the top 50 are elite kicks, are very good or elite kicks. So for a club like Carlton that struggles in that department, if we can get 4 or 5 picks in that 50, they can really get some big squad players, which I think, if you look at Geelong, you look at them, they had 5 All-Australians like us. Their big difference between us and them is their 17 guys propping up them 5 superstars are very good players, where Carlton have kind of got waifs and strafes topping them up because of injuries. If we can bring 5 guys in, like your Atkins, players like who no one talks about, but Atkins works incredibly hard week in, week out, and wasn't a very good footballer when he came into the system, but had good skills. Carlton are going to be laughing in the future.
Yeah, well, I hope you're right in that regard about bringing the draft picks in. For me, it's going to be interesting what our list, what spots we have on our list for these players. Do we have? I mean, how many spots do we have opened up? I don't know. I haven't really looked at it that deeply. So it's about trying to open enough spots up. I've been very, very big on it this year, saying we kind of if the likes of Kemp and Phil don't particularly come on, we've kind of fell out of that. Our arse end has fallen out as far as elite youngsters on our list, given the fact we are looking, seeing Stocker getting delisted and Dowd looks like he's on the outer and so on and so on. So I do think it'll be good to get a pick 10 in there and just really nurture the kid and hopefully they can come good, like what we saw with Motlop this year. I think he took a really big step, a bigger step than I thought he was going to take anyway.
I mean, to answer your question, at the moment, Carlton have 33 senior players on the list. We have 4 Cat A, 2 Cat B. So Carlton can go up to, if they stay in that formation, they could go up to 38 senior players. So there could be 5 players.
Yeah.
You'd imagine Brodie's going to come in. That's 1 extra. So there's 34. So Carlton have still got a bit of wiggle room. Probably about 4 players. And also Carlton can burn their picks in the 80s. No one ever talks about it, but Carlton do have 2 picks in the 80s. The AFL have allocated it because we haven't got a full list. So Carlton can burn pick 86 is one of them and promote a rookie. So we've got a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah, I imagine like the pick 86 or something will be getting Boyd, for example, on the senior list or whatever it is, as they tend to do. But another thing that people don't really consider is that you look at the pick number and you think clubs pass and all that. So a pick in the 60s could end up being the 40th best player, depending on what happens in there. So
you would be surprised as well, because we talked about third rounders. One of the most important picks in AFL history, you will find a third rounder is the make weight of most deals. But also, if you're looking for a crafty small forward goal kicker, genuinely, the third rounder is where you find that guy. So there's a few, and I can give you a little sneak preview. Bailey Humphrey, again, sliding down all draft boards. I've willed it into submission over the last 2 weeks. Tell you what, Carlton get Bailey Humphrey, finals. Fuck that. You win flags with players like that. X Factor. X Factor. Tell you what, I will go on record. I said last year, Dacos was by a mile the best player in the draft, and everyone was saying Jason on Francis. Humphrey, for me, is the coup de grace. If you've got a football team, Humphrey is the man. Would we consider Sheasel, Narkle? I don't know what you feel about this, but I've seen a few names. Mitch Robinson was one. Narkle's another. Narkle for me is my worry with Narkle is this guy has got legs like Oscar Pistorius. Like he's got just about every injury you can ever think of. Guy's constantly injured. I'm a big fan. I agree with John here. You need players that aren't injured.
Correct.
And Narkle for me he's like Zach Fisher 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Really good, but you just don't know.
Quenton Narkle. I saw a lot of people commenting saying we should go after him, we should go for him. And I'm just like, how many more injury-prone, conditional front runners do you want on your list? Because that's what he is. He's an injury-prone, conditional footballer. We got too many of them. So, no, for me, I'd be steering well clear of Narkle. In fact, I'd be steering well clear of most of the players who've been delisted. I want us to bring some draftees in, for sure.
Few here, Sheasel, I don't think, I'd love to lie to you. There is no chance Sheasel slides to 10. I'd say if Carlton are looking for a similar type of player, they may have Cam McKenzie. I've got a feeling though Bailey Humphrey will get to Carlton. Just looking at some of the movements, I predict Ollie Hollands would be the backup, I reckon, at 10. Bit early, but exciting times. And obviously Daniel O'Keefe left, the former Geelong Falcons coach, country coach. Got a very good history, he has, with young players. Went back home to coach locally. Good on him. But that leads me to my next question. I looked at Geelong, and last year I found a cracking article when they went out. They had Matty Scarlett leave. The media were like, oh, this is the end of Geelong. Chris Scott's asking the players, should he stay on? And then they brought in Josh Jenkins. And there's articles going, oh, that's a little bit weird. Why would you get Josh Jenkins to develop players? Sean Grigg came in. Eddie Betts came in. And they lost 3 coaches last year, very experienced, brought 3 modern-day players in. Now, what I wanted to put to the audience and you, Fazz, is you look at the EPL, when a player retires who's good, within 5 minutes, they are an academy coach or a reserve coach. Look at Gerrard. He'd retired 5 minutes later, Liverpool under-18s manager. It's a common thing in the football world. It's a common thing in rugby. It's a common thing in rugby league. We've seen in the NRL a lot of these players. Benji Marshall about to take over the Tigers after a year as an academy coach. Doesn't seem to happen in the AFL, but Geelong seem to do it a lot. Now, I'm going to throw a name out there for you who I think is ready-made for Carlton. And a lot of people talk about bringing in experienced players. I don't believe that. I believe what you should do is you bring in that current leadership And if you can't get him as a player, like when people say Eddie Betts leadership, Hodge leadership, that doesn't need to be on the field. That needs to be with the players 24/7. And I've got two names for you. Well, one name, two words. Joel Selwood.
Ever heard of him?
Imagine him.
Oh, look, obviously, we'll get to it. But obviously announced his retirement today. Great career. Horrendously undermined by supporters. But anyway, I would bite off your left arm if it meant Joel Selwood coming to Carlton in any capacity. And that might even include coming to get a coffee from the cafe. To have that man walk into our football club in any capacity would just be so ridiculous that I can't see it happening. But I would kill for it. If Bryon Cook has not got on the phone today, the moment that announcement finished, and they, oh, hey Joel, congratulations on a good career, by the way, then I don't know. But seriously, I would kill. In fact, I would actually go. I would trade them Tom de Koning just to get Joel Selwood to come and coach.
I've got to say, I maybe have caused this rumor as well, because as soon as he was announced, I text 3 of my mates saying, if you're Cookie, you get on the phone to Joel Selwood as soon as he stopped crying and saying, 2 questions, mate. What you doing in 3 months' time? And 2, how much? And I was like, that's it. I was like, bring him in. You know, the other name I'd bring in as well, because looking at Carlton's, we're still 1 coach down. We're now 2 coaches down from where we usually are, which would indicate some severance pay last year. I would look at another guy as well, Robbie Gray. And I'll tell you for why I'd get him in. Is speaking to a few of my mates who are massive Port fans. This guy spends a lot of his time when he was playing with their NGA and with their stateside as well, trying to pass on tips. And I think the small forward role is an area of concern for Carlton, and they don't quite come on. I look at the coaches, and none of them would jet small forwards. And Robbie Gray, I think, is the modern-day personification of that. So I think Selwood and Gray, it suits Voss because Gray was a big part of his leadership and his leadership program. Robbie Gray and Ollie Wines were 2 of the leaders of that, which was written by him. I think that would be sick. And a third name I'll throw is, there's rumours he's retiring, but Travis Boak.
Oh, Travis. Well, I mean, the thing is, there's plenty of them out there, because another one as well of a young man who's moving back to Seymour from WA, and that's David Mundy. He's another one who you could look at in those roles. I only know that because I play cricket with his brother-in-law, and I'm trying to get him to play cricket at my club. But so maybe get him down to a bit of coaching at Carlton. But any one of them, and I think you're right. Getting these types of people into a fresh out from relatively, you know, it doesn't even have to be successful clubs, but being a successful professional, I think, is something that we sorely lack. You know, look at our coaching panel, and it's only a matter of time before Ashley Hansen's gone. I was very, very pleased that he removed himself from the Essendon job, but it's only a matter of time. He's the next cab off the rank, or one of the next cabs off the rank for a full-time coaching role. He's brilliant. So, you know, we've got to start looking at these next people and surrounding Voss, not with experience, but with people who are going to buy in as well. And I think that's the most important part, to buy in to what the club wants to achieve.
100%. I think Mundy, Boat, Gray, Selwood, particularly Selwood, just because he's done it a few times as a player. He's been through 2 different types of building as well at Geelong. So he probably understands how hard it is as a player to react to that kind of change and that fundamentals, because they've gone through many layers, Geelong. I love Gray purely because I think Gray, when you watch him play, one of the smartest footballers I've seen. Even when his legs started to go, he just knew where to be. And I think that's something it could really aid someone like Motlop, who, when I watch Motlop, he's got all the skills. I just think he lacks the savvy. Yet. And I just think someone like Boak or Mundy would be brilliant, because he's played till he's nearly 40 years old. Like that guy knows something about applying yourself, nutrition, looking after yourself. Couldn't agree more. I think Selwood, Monday, Boat, Gray,
and I think
Flag.
with all these players, one of the things I think that the worst thing you can do as a legend of your club or a long-serving player of your club or whatever it is at your club is to stay at your club. I think the worst thing Joel Selwood could do, well, not the worst thing, but for his career, depending on what to do, if it's announced that, he's going to be an assistant coach at Geelong, and great, Geelong would love that as well. But to me, you need to expand yourself, go to another club, experience something else. Listen to Michael Voss talk about going to another club, experiencing something else. What does James Hird need to do to get a coaching job again? Go to another club, experience something else. Which brings me on to this Dan O'Keefe thing. It would be I heard you say this the other night, so this is not an original thought, but it'd be such a Carlton move to say, Cade Simpson, you're coaching our VFL. I mean, like, for fuck's sake! Like, if they bring in some ex-Carlton player, or whatever, to coach our VFL team, you may as well shut the doors because nothing's changed. At the end of the day, I love Cade Simpson. I like, Matty Cruiser. I love Matty Cruiser, but these guys are perennial losers. They've been at a club that's a perennial loser club. Stop recycling our older players. Bring in people from other cultures, other experience, other success, because you know what? I don't want to sound rude, but I hate to break it to you. People saying, they're Carlton people. Well, Carlton's been a pretty shit place for 20 years, so I don't know if I really want Carlton people in Carlton. So I'll be looking at the Selwoods, the Boaks.
Yeah, it'd be interesting as well, because I mean, like, to go for that job, that's going to be interesting. Daniel O'Keefe, I mean, do Carlton look at some of the academies to replace him? Obviously, that's a specialist role, so you probably wouldn't be bringing in an ex-player who hasn't coached before to do that. It's a very apt role. But, I mean, some of the people out there, I would definitely be trying to have a look at, like, maybe the Sandringham Dragons coach, who's done really well. Josh Bork over there, he's done very well in his short time there. They've got some wonderful, wonderful people there. There's Wayne Cripps as well, big famous name there, who brings all these kids in as well. One of their head of technical coaching, evidently. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of options out there. And I think that was why Daniel O'Keefe worked, because he was the Falcons coach for a while. So he understood how the system worked.
And I think the people I'd be looking at as well is the coaches or assistant coaches or whatever type of coach whose goal is to become a senior AFL coach one day, because I think they make the best, that fit. Coming in, they've got a plan. You want someone just coming in who know they're gonna put their best foot forward and put everything out on the table because their plan is to achieve something. I don't want to pull Ash Hansen out of his role to do it, for example, but I mean, he did it for the Footscray. He coached them to a premiership, Footscray. So, someone like that you think, okay, who's an assistant coach out there or a lines coach who wants to take that next step, come and run our team with our philosophies, and what can you provide? I actually think it's a very good opportunity for anyone to take that role at an upcoming club with good coaches around them. I think it's a beautiful role for someone, like you said, from Sandringham or even another, like from a VFL club, one of their coaches come in and say, okay, let me get in a professional environment and see if I've got what it takes.
John's nailed this. And one of my points the other night, I couldn't agree more with John. Fresh ideas from outside the club will make them better. But I also think as well, I was kind of not glad Daniel O'Keefe went, because he's done a wonderful job, but he's one of the few players at the club today who was there pre-Voss. And yep. I'm a firm believer that the coach and all the people under him have to be wanted by Voss. So I think it's a great opportunity that's probably the most important job at the club, because what Daniel O'Keefe's done very well is keeping these guys rehearsed in senior football and the roles that Vossi wants. So I think it's a great opportunity for Voss to bring someone who he can work really closely with, who we really trust. He's built some extensive contacts as well, who are still there at Port, who he basically headhunted for that leadership and development role. So I won't be surprised to see one of them come across and take it over. Real exciting time, I think, an opportunity, because that's going to win us a flag.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's an exciting role. Adam Muse would be fantastic, but I think he
Imagine
might be
that when he's like the favourite for the Essendon job, and we
Look,
sweep in and give him the assistant.
Yeah, that would be amazing. But like I said, I think he might be a bit busy to be taking our job. But no, look, I think it's a great role and look, exciting times for the club. I just, like I said, I just don't want it to just fall into another fanboy Carlton thing, which seemed to have happened previously. And I've got faith that it's not going to happen again.
I've got faith as well. Well, I mean, we've talked about Geelong and they did something this week, so let's go and have a look.
Living life every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Fuck me, I'm looking in the mirror, so foggy, but I've never seen clearer. I don't really.
I love that song.
I do as well. You know what though, Fazz Dad? I'm surprised that she hasn't got a gig. I mean, I would have thought, like, if she wants to get back into coaching, the AFL have made a big fuss about her. I would have thought they'd be trying to push that, especially in some kind of development role. But,
100%.
But this is the AFL. This is the AFL where they say one thing, but behind closed doors, he's probably banned. But
I'm with you.
Geelong did end up winning a flag, so well done to them. They absolutely trounced Sydney. Paula asked, what do we think of Buddy's performance? I actually thought it was one of the more sadder things, because I kind of, it could be his last chance, couldn't it?
Well, it could be. Look, Buddy Franklin will probably go down as certainly in my lifetime the best player I've ever seen in my lifetime. But then there's that little thing hanging over his head that he's lost 4 grand finals. And I was actually talking to my father-in-law, who's a Hawthorn supporter, and we were talking about Buddy Franklin's performances in all his grand finals. And it is a sad, because I think about the weekend and I think about 2016 against the Doggies, and it is sad that a great of the game failed on the biggest stage multiple times in his career, which I hope it shouldn't. I hope it doesn't dampen his legacy. But I agree, it was sad. I felt sad because leading up to the week, I didn't really care who won. But leading up to the week, I said, I would have liked to have seen Buddy at least dominate, even if they had lost, at least do something that was remind us of that he's the greatest player that we've seen in our era, pretty much.
I agree with Manny's point here. I know he's a devout Collingwood fan, but I agree. It is a shame that Geelong, the 2 teams that could have given him a chance, they did. They had their worst games against Geelong. I mean, they always say, though, you've got to have a little bit of luck. But I will say this. Geelong have that horrible habit, don't they, the way they play, of making a good side look pretty terrible, because it's just relentless at the basics.
Look, I think it's good for footy. I made this comment last week. I think it'd be good for footy if Geelong won, and the reason I say that is because hopefully people get off this tirade of as soon as you turn 30, get off our list. Newsflash: you don't win trophies for having the youngest list in the competition. You do win trophies for winning grand finals, and Geelong did that. So I think it's great for footy. I think it could change footy. I generally think a few of these players, a few of these clubs might be thinking, "Ooh, should we hold on to this guy another year? Look what Richmond's doing with Rewalt and Cochin. Do we hold on to him for another year?" What experience is absolutely valuable, which we'll get to that later on in one of our other segments. But as far as Geelong, the club goes, now I've got a friend of mine who works at Geelong, and about middle of the season, it was around about the bye, she said to me that Geelong will win the flag. And I said, "What are you talking about?" And she said, and it's now starting to come out because I've heard a few people say this. He goes, we are trained to the T. We have planned this to an absolute T. From day one of preseason, they planned the resting of Selwood, the resting. Obviously, luck went their way by not getting injuries, but the way they trained, they completely changed the way they trained. They completely changed the way they prepared. They changed the way they travelled. They changed everything about their football club in this off season, and the whole club knew they were going to win the flag. From mid-season, and I remember her telling me that, and I'm like, okay, cool, and exactly right. They were the fittest team in the comp. They were the most drilled team in the comp. Everything about them, the most professional team. And I think you talk about, like I said before, a bit of luck with injuries, but you know what injuries are or recovery? It's professionalism. They're the most professional team in the comp. Surprise, surprise, they're not getting as much injuries as everybody else. I think there is a direct link between professionalism and injuries, or certainly recovery from injuries. I couldn't be prouder of the Geelong Football Club. I couldn't be more in awe, I should say, of the Geelong Football Club, because I think this team, well, you know, everyone's all about dynasties these days, but I think this team that they've had is a superb team that we should remember for a long time.
Mate, spot on. There's two things like Manny, spot on. Like I keep saying, depth is so important because you can rotate these players. And I like this comment here to back up what Manny's saying there. Like Gav's saying, what the AFL media has missed here is now they're talking about, oh, teams need more over 30s, which I disagree with at all. What no one's looking at with Geelong, and it fucking shits me, is they had on the field that day, right? If you count, they have a rule that the prime 40, they call it in the draft. People pre-40 genuinely are where it is, and everything else is guesswork. You look at Geelong's list, right? They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players that were beyond that. 7 of which were rookies and unregistered players. So what that's telling me there is all over 17 AFL clubs had options to pick these players up. Not one chance. When you're going into your 50s, that's 3 chances for a football club to pick them up other than Geelong. And everyone's done it. And what I love about Geelong, and I can't rave about it enough, and it's a bit what Collingwood did 2 years ago when they got rid of Treloar and everyone slated them. And I said, this will pay them back because they targeted players that suited the system they wanted to play and hit the draft hard. And I'll tell you what, if they hit the draft hard the year after, they wouldn't have got the players to suit the system. They targeted the right draft. Geelong do that all the time. You look at some of the players they've brought in on the rookie list. Now, Tyson Stengel's a great example, delisted, but was a rookie by Adelaide. Perfect example of what Geelong needed, right? What they needed last year when they recruited him at the start of this year. Small forward that just kicks goals all day. Needs a bit of love. But there's other players there that just blag my head no one talks about. Tom Atkins is one of them. Rookie pick, right? And there's an interview going around with him where he was actually approached by 2 other AFL clubs who said, oh, no, you've got no engine. Oh, no, you've got no foot speed. And Geelong basically said, we don't need that. We need you to tackle. Can you do that? And he's like, oh, well, that's all I can do. And they're like, all right, well, we'll work on the kicking. We'll work on the handball. You just bring your tackles. We'll teach you the rest. And that is a lesson for every AFL club in the land. Don't take best player. Take fucking best skills for your team.
Gavin beat me to the punch. I absolutely hate this term. I hate it. I only hate it because people misuse it so much. In ever since that movie came out, people misuse the term so much. But I will say it is that approach. It is that approach of saying, okay, what is the skill we need? Which player has it? Let's bring them in. And I think Carlton are doing that with the likes of Blake Acres. A lot of people say, is Blake Acres the type of player we need? Is he the type of player we need? Well, yeah, he is, because what is he? He's a winger who keeps his width, because my biggest criticism of our wingers is they do not keep their width, right? And what does he do? He keeps his width. Bang, bring him in. I don't care if his name was John Smith. Who's a winger that keeps their width? Bring him in, right? And that's what Geelong do. And like I said, I'm in awe of that football club. I'm actually, you know, forget your dynasties, forget your your Hawthorn three-peats or your Richmond's 3 and 5 years or whatever it is, the Geelong, it's in their name, the greatest team of all. They are, in our era, this modern era, they are the greatest team of all. What they've been able to achieve, I saw this stat from, was it 2006 to now, they missed finals like twice. Like, what the hell? And we're sitting there banking on, we were going to celebrate like we won a grand final. Should we have beaten Collingwood in the last game? And Geelong have missed finals twice. That's sustained success.
Mate, it's spot on. And there's a lot of teams that do it. You look at Hawthorn. They had 3 or 4 in their dynasty year rookie picks. You look at Richmond. Amazingly, Kane Lambert, Jaden Short, Dan Butler won finals coach award for the finals player. All late rookie picks, right? And I think that is a huge, huge notice for a lot of AFL clubs. Don't go out and when you have pick 27, don't go, oh, shit. D'Aniello's slipped. He was a top 10 pick.
Yes.
Go, does D'Aniello handball or kick or play the style of football we want? Or do we look at it like Jack Ginnivan, great point here. Manny and Ben will love this. That Ginnivan, you look at him, and I remember doing his draft profile last year, and we did actually talk about him on Blue Abroad, because I said the guy's got 0 defensive pressure, but the one thing the guy does is he knows where the onion bag is. And I'm like, you put 2 players around him to tackle for him, he'll kick the snags. That's all you need. And that is what Geelong do well. Look at Mark Blitzarves. He was a player that was considered, and I love this because Carlton fans fall into this trap. Oh, he's an athlete. Fuck it. We want a footballer. They saw this guy's very good down back, can ruck a bit, can play forward, elite engine. Build his skills up. I would say Blitzarves one of the most important players of Geelong because he goes everywhere.
Yeah, he's special, and I think that's the point about just finding these players. And I think Nick Austin is showing that. I think the Motlop pick from last year, again, what did we need? Small forward. He picked the small forward with our pick. You know, he's looking at Akers, and I've got no doubt this pick 10, I've got no doubt in my mind it won't be the 10th player on the board that says, well, that's the 10th best player, we'll take him. I will almost bank my reputation on it. It'll be the player that we need the most in that particular position.
Yeah, spot on. And that's what you've got to do. And you look like they've got, like you say, the list goes on at Geelong. Like, it's actually filth. It's actually filth, their list. Like, people always go, oh, they've got Jezza Cameron, right? Oh, they bought the title. And you're like, yeah, look at the core of that team.
Yeah.
That's genius list management. And like Manny says here, Bo McCreary, like you hear Carlton fans, all he does is tackle, right? And every Collingwood fan I speak to is like, oh, Bo McCreary, guy's a beast. And I'm like, he's not as good as Owies, though. Owies kicks more snags and tackles the same. And we hate our guy. And that's why they like him, because they've got that goal kicker. You gave Carlton Tyson Stengel, I'd guarantee everyone would be saying Matty Owies best small forward at the club.
Yeah, you're right. It just goes to show the way it is. But yeah, like I said, with the Geelong Football Club, you can. I'll say it to every Richmond, Hawthorn, whatever. Take your dynasties and shove them up your ass, because Geelong are just their next level. And I can't see him just falling away again. They're just always going to be there.
Tremendous list management. And that's why it's so important as Carlton fans. That's the only thing we can take out of them. That's the only thing we can steal from Geelong. And that is they've recruited all the time for a system, for their system, right? And they don't care about your draft orders, your draft rankings. They just go, right, okay, cool. We need a guy that can tackle and be good one-on-one. And they go down their list and they go, okay. And Geelong fall back quite a bit as well. They trade their picks backwards. They've done that a few times. It's because they know. Well, they don't get blinded by, oh my God, this guy, Cal Toomey's told me he changes his life. We better pick him. They'd rather get them guys that play. So, like Chris says, what position do you need at 10? Like for Carlton, for me, I think we need a high half forward because Jack Martin doesn't cut it, who can kick goals. Or we need an elite winger. So to me, it's only 2. It's Bailey Humphries or Ollie Hollands. And Ollie Hollands is probably 4 picks too early.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. I could give two squirts of piss what position it is. The fucker just better be able to kick. That's as simple. It's as simple as I want. Draft a bloke who can kick the ball. That's it. I don't care. Draft him who can kick because I'm so
Fazz,
sick of
Fazz,
players who
Bailey
can't
Humphries isn't a great kick, but I'll tell you what.
Well,
the
fuck
first
him.
time, but mate, when you see him, I'm just going to say this to the audience. I might fall out of love with Charlie when we get Bailey Humphries because this kid is special, game changer.
Well, hopefully. But no, I'm with you. High half forward who can kick goals, and a winger who keeps their width. They're the two. And I think, yeah, we've got the call.
Bailey Humphries laughs at pressure, laughs at it.
Good. That's
Yeah,
what I like
you
to
know
hear.
that slogan as well you had the other day. The best ability is availability.
Yeah.
You know what? Any single blokes out at the moment, you need to slide into some DMs with that. Tell you what, if a girl text me, the best ability is availability, I'll be questioning life choices. But let's have a look at Fazz Fury.
I'm taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything.
Look, Fazz, you're getting some love. The Better Bell 27. Love this Fazz bloke. He's all right, isn't he?
It's nice because I usually get called horrendous things, but that's fine. I appreciate the love. So you should see my DMs. It's usually full of "go fucking kill yourself, mate" and stuff like that. But anyway, thank you.
Go on then, Fazz.
All right. It's very topical, this one. My Fazz Fury today is the trade period. It's shit. I know we all get excited and we all like to get up and about it, but it's shit. It's the same five blokes getting talked about every single day. This trade radio stuff is just like, okay, let's recap on what we spoke about yesterday. Okay. At the end of the day, every single trade period they say this is going to be the biggest trade period of all time. It's not. It's going to be the same shit players that are just jumping from club to club. I mean, fucking Rory Lobb's changed clubs every fucking trade period for the last 5 years. What else is new? All the deals are already agreed upon. Don't kid yourself, okay? It's all just for show. It's all just a ruse. And my favorite line of all time, I actually saw a Collingwood supporter post this, and this was what kind of led me on my tirade, was saying, well, if surely Collingwood are banking on, if Jordan De Goey leaves, we've got something hidden away that, to pry a player out of a club. Newsflash, you don't. Okay, no club has things up their sleeves or hidden away, or I'm going to pry this big fish out of their club. It doesn't work that way. If you haven't heard about it, it's not happening. Trade period shit.
Well, before I answer him, thank you very much, Mohammed Saber. Good on both of you guys. You're doing an amazing job. Thank you very much, Mohammed. You are a legend, my friend. No, I agree with you. You know the bit that shits me about trade period, and it proper fucking annoys me. Like, I can't tell you how much it annoys me. Is, the ridiculous trade ideas that they have, and they get more ridiculous every year. The premise of the SEN and the trade radios, trade rumors are this: right, we need a good player to leave their club to another club, but they don't quite have the draft arsenal to buy that player. So they rope in 4 other teams who just happen to pay the tab for both other teams, and they get nothing back. And it's like, yeah, that'll do. All right, mate. And because I always say this, I've had a few sent to me, and I always say this: when have you seen more than 2 AFL clubs do a trade at the same time? Never fucking happens. Like, It's hard enough doing a trade in the AFL for a player out of contract like Sard, let alone ringing Fremantle, GWS, and Eagles to help you do the deal. Absolutely mental.
It just reminds me of that old now this is not many people will know this, but that old Batman scene where they got the phones connected to each other and Bruce Wayne Batman talking to himself. But that's just what reminds me of getting on the phones. But no, I'm with you. So one of the funniest ones is should Carlton trade pick 10, 28, the Jones compo next year's first for North Melbourne's pick 1? It's worth the same points. Like, or it's like, I mean, Wayne Carey did it years ago when he said, Carlton should trade pick 1 to Melbourne for what, Jack Frost, Thomas Bugg.
Oh yeah, do you remember that?
He listed all these things. It just, the only thing other than that makes me laugh even harder about the fucking trade period or the off-season period is Carlton delisted Jack Noons, right? And rightly or wrongly, the Carlton supporters were up and about saying, good, Jack Noons, he's not our best 22 or whatever. And then I'm seeing fuckers say, oh, we should get Quenton Daniels. We should get Mitch Robinson. We should get, what the, you've just, the same people who were up and about saying, oh, how good is it we got rid of Jack Noons, we got rid of some dead wood, and you're wanting to go after Quenton Daniels? You wanted to go after Mitch Robinson? Oh, good for experience, bring him back. Fuck
I've got to say, I can't expose the person, but there was someone in my DMs who the last message he sent me was, hey, Pommy, what's with all these shit bastards we buy who are always injured? And the next message he sent me after that rant was, Narkle would fit the bill. And I'm like, scroll back up. Just read what you sent to me and then ask me again. But no, I agree with you. I mean, trade period for us, I think, is a little bit of a non-negotiable. I'll grab Fazz's thoughts on some of the questions. I actually think if Carlton do this, go early, I think Carlton will sit on the fence. And I wouldn't be surprised for Carlton to go in like Essendon did with Dylan Shield with us. They got their business done early. And then when the deal started to stumble, you can be a bit of a dickhead. So the Grundy thing, I think that's locked in. But I agree with John. I don't see how that works at all.
Yeah, and I think this is the other positive thing about not being heavily involved or getting the Acres deal done very early is we're not going to be sitting, day after day after day dealing with that dickhead Dodoro, like I said, trying to get a deal over the line that should have been done 3 weeks earlier. So if something does come up, and this whole salary cap thing, I'm very big on, I do think our salary cap isn't as, I do think it's tighter than what people are trying to make it out to be, but you can wiggle these deals around. You can thin out contracts. You can do all this stuff. So it's not the we're going to go over the cap if we sign other players. It just comes down to what capital do we have to trade for them, I think.
It's almost impossible to go over your salary cap. And
yeah,
I think this, to me, Lou, great question. I would say this is the only deal Carlton may be involved in because strong noise that the two clubs they're negotiating with aren't willing to give the right thing back. And because Carlton have got that Jones pick, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a future third that Carlton go, well, you know what, pick 28, let's throw that in the return deal, renegotiate some contracts, because I estimate Carlton's salary cap isn't that bad if you look at what's come in, what's gone out, and also the signings on a lower rate. I wouldn't be surprised that Carlton look at pick 7 and go, especially if I'm Austin, pick 7, I can get guaranteed Bailey Humphries, maybe Philippou. You never know. I've got Sheasel going at 5 to 6. He could be there. And Carlton go, well, I can get Ollie Holland Sheasel. Get it done this year, fuck it off. So I won't be surprised. Watch that deal because that'll drag. That's a funny deal. I could quite easily see Carlton, 2 hours to go on the deadline, ring up Gold Coast, say, fuck it. Bowes is a very good depth player. He can play 3 positions. We'll take him on for 2 years. Here's pick 28, give us 7, right? And suddenly Carlton are right in the money bowl, right in that territory where they can walk away laughing.
And the thing is as well that a lot of people, people are starting to talk about it a bit more now, is the salary cap is about to explode. Like let's just say it's 12 million, whatever it is now. In 2 years' time, when the new bargaining agreement comes in, it could go up by $1.52 million. So this Charlie Curnow 7-year deal locked away, unless he's signed it as a percentage increase versus the salary cap, that it's going to end up being a bargain because every club's going to have money to play with. So it's kind of like do the hard yards now. I'm with you. Attack this draft, trade out futures, whatever. I really like the idea of that pick 7 and Bowes deal. I really like that idea. But to me, there should be 17 other clubs trying to get into that deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of them have back-ended and front-ended their deals during COVID to avoid that. That's one of the things that the media don't talk about, that a lot of players, Martin was one of them, renegotiated his deal to get the $1 million the year after. So he didn't have to take the pay cut on the $1 million. A lot of clubs did that. And I would imagine Carlton were very clever because they did it early while we had the cap space. I'd imagine a lot of our deals are back-ended. So won't be surprised. I did see that one as well. Pick 7 for Ollie Henry. And that in that John DeGoey deal, I don't know if you've seen it, Fazz, but they said that he's worth a first rounder. And I'm like, Ollie Henry had one good game against fucking Carlton. If that's a first rounder, fuck me.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about all that. But now, look, I think if the one thing I will say is don't stress about salary caps. I just don't think it's something worth stressing about.
Mate, I'm with you. Couldn't agree more. And we're going to be a bit more AFL bagging because it's my turn. And Faz usually is the geographical bully. I'm the media bully. Let's see who I'm bullying this week.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top.
Way right. So you know what I am pondering, and this has happened about 3 times this week alone, and it is starting to fuck me off because it is actually pulling the enjoyment out of AFL. And it's the media's urge to be first and report it and take away moments. So the 2 examples I'm going to have, right, is the first one. Tyson Stengel, when the AFL talk about mental health, right, is the greatest advocate for mental health. A young boy that has made the mistake, has done drugs, has probably paid, in my opinion, over the price because he was cast away from the AFL overnight to play shit kick football that no one cared about, has worked his arse off to get back into the AFL, kicked 4 goals and a granny, become an All-Australian after being delisted, and 4 in a granny. And the media couldn't help word a statement saying, oh, Stengel can't do the team song. He's been drug tested. And they worded it like that, knowing, right, that it's the most normal thing. Every game, 4 players will be tested, spot tested. Stengel happened to be one, right? But the fact they took his moment away. So the first thing you could hear about Stengel wasn't the fact, what a story of redemption. What a wonderful way to teach our kids, own a mistake, fuck it, take the punishment, but come back, right? They didn't do that. They've just said, oh, he's gone for another drug test. He's back on the gear. And the other one, couldn't believe it, they fucking revealed Joel Selwood's retiring. The guy is a champion of this game, deserves to be able to be saying it first. The media, about 4 of them, speculated earlier before it was called. It was obvious what they'd called it for, right? It was obvious what they called it for. He was retiring. But why take that away from Joel Selwood? Joel Selwood deserves to sit in front of his fans and say, you know what? You've heard it from me first because you've supported me. So the media can get fucked. They took Tyson Stengel's moment away, which I think is the greatest story in the AFL, bar probably the Cunnington and Doc comeback, and then taking away Joel Selwood's moment to retire a fucking champion. Absolute disgrace.
I'm with you. I could not agree more. I was just pottering around today and I just heard on the radio, they're just like, oh, Geelong have announced a press conference at 1. I'm like, oh, okay, it's obviously going to be Joel. I immediately thought it'll be Joel Selwood retiring. Then everything was like, expect Joel Selwood expected to try. Joel Selwood retiring. I was just like, well, I'm with you. It happens all the time. It's like, it's the same. Well, the same with all of them. I mean, Robbie Gray, all that. Everything was announced before they were even able to announce it. So, no, I'm with you. The want to be first, and to be honest, and you're seeing that a lot actually in the trade period, right? The Jordan DeGoey one is a perfect example. How many times you just get on Twitter or whatever and just search it? The flip-flopping in the last 48 hours. Jordan DeGoey, oh, he's expected to sign a Collingwood. Oh, the clauses are in there. He shouldn't. No. The clauses are bad. No, I expect him to stay. No, he won't stay. They just throwing darts at a board and hoping they
You know
stick.
what pisses me off more about the Degoe? That's another rant in itself, right? Is the fact that 6 weeks ago, all the media were unanimous with he has to have good behaviour, has to have that clause.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the articles I read, it would be list suicide to give him a big contract without a get-out clause. Now, the AFL, right, reported he had it in and Degoe didn't want it. And my big argument about this is we are all, if you have a contract to your workplace, you're probably not aware of it, but you go through the terms of your employment. There should be a section on your social media habits and what you say and how you represent, what you do, what you say, criminal convictions. We've got things in ours that if any of the convictions are to do with domestic abuse, financial fraud, things like that, instant dismissal. But suddenly this gets revealed and the media are like, no, you can't do that. Can't do that. He's a human. How dare they? And I'm like, hang about though. Whatever will be in there, everyone in the world is subject to that. And once more, let's just look at it this way. Degoe was never convicted, right? But let's put it this way. One of their own in the AFL media was subject to this clause. When he went out and started taking the piss out of gay people and saying, I'm not a woman, after making a derogatory comment about a lesbian, was sacked because he did that and breached the terms of employment. So amazing the media fucking forget that everyone has these clauses.
Yeah, they're the flip-flopping for me, it absolutely took the cake on this one. They're just,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what, as well, that you know what annoys me about that is it's been leaked, right? And I was very strong on this last week, but it's been leaked. And you know what annoys me about the leaked email is if you've got half a brain, you can work out who the player is complaining. It's not hard, but you can narrow it down to 2 players because it's dated and the players that are mentioned in his first training session, that you can narrow it down to 2 players. Now, the fact he's asked for anonymity, I think it's disgusting they've not even vetted what is in that email. So you could actually find it. And if that has happened, which there's good evidence to suggest a lot of people have come forward to say it has, that poor guy has been anonymous for a reason. And the media just reporting emails is purely to get clicks at the expense of someone's safety. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'm with you. No, we say it. You know, I did make a promise that unlike trade radio, we won't repeat ourselves 300 times, but we do say it every week. Fuck the media. That's why we do what we do. So that's why we're here.
I mean, we're on to everyone's favourite segment, and then we'll get on to some of your questions. Fazz, what you got for me?
Quick one from me. Those of you who follow me closely will know my opinion. Very, 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 very strong opinion on AFL clubs and being ageist. I mentioned it earlier in regards to Geelong, and I'm huge on this. You know, the moment a player turns 30, it's like, oh well, he's probably on his way out. You know, start giving him 1-year deals, and it's not about just keeping them on the list just because of their age. For me, Collingwood is the poster boy, and I know I've spent a couple of weeks slagging them off, so here I am back to praise them. They are the poster boys of why you need experience on your list. The rebuild on the run, as they say. Sydney, the rebuild on the run. Geelong, rebuild on the run. Mark my words, if Collingwood acted like Carlton acted when we started our rebuild and then they got rid of Pendlebury and Sidebottom, all that, they would be bottom 4 this year. The fact is they didn't, and look at their rebuild. And you know what? They might not win a premiership with Pendlebury and Sidebottom in that team, but I tell you who's going to win the premiership for them? The players that are training under Sidebottom and Pendlebury week in, week out. Sydney the same. The rebuild on the run. They could have got rid of Josh Kennedy. They could have eased out Rampy and all that stuff. But you know who's going to win the premiership for them when they get up there? The Chad Warners, the Gouldens, the ones who've trained under Kennedy, the ones who've trained under Parker, the one who sees Rampy week in, week out. Geelong, why do they win the flag? Why are they not going to go down in the next few years? You know why? Because Joel Selwood has sat there and trained with these guys. Tom Hawkins has trained with these guys. They're going to be there. These players are seeing, Atkins, you made an example. He's walked into a football club. He walked into Carlton. Who's he training under? Who's he seeing? Sam Walsh is probably our best trainer, which is great, but he's still a kid. All right. AFL clubs need to stop being ageist because you can't win flags without experience, and you certainly can't rebuild without experience.
Mate, I couldn't agree more. As my pop used to say, if you're old enough, you're good enough. You know what I mean?
Love it.
But I agree. No, I agree with you, and I also think the problem with the AFL media as well is they look at things so black and white. So Collingwood are old, Collingwood are young, Geelong are old. They don't look at how that list is formulated at all. So it's not so much that they're old, right? It's the fact that look at what they've got in depth and how they've done it. Like, to me, the real story this year of Geelong, Collingwood, Sydney, 3 sides with different list management strategies, but impeccable list management. Collingwood did a rebuild and brought in a young core overnight.
Yep.
Sydney scrapped seniors, brought in mass talent over 3 drafts, and Geelong keep cherry picking them young players late and backing, like you say, the experience they've got at the club to guide these raw recruits to the promised land. And they're the real stories where if I'm the media, I'd be asking, Carlton have had a fuckload of picks. Why couldn't they have done that?
Yep.
North have had a fuckload of picks. Why haven't they done that? GWS and Gold Coast are new teams. Why didn't they go out and get 6 old players and started really cherry picking the draft and building something strong? But what do the AFL media do? North Melbourne need to buy Dustin, buy Buddy, buy a superstar. No. They don't think about maybe they should start building a list.
Yeah, and look, I look at it this way, and I say, and I agree with Gavin, that's what Carlton are building now, okay? The problem is the reason our rebuild has taken so long is because we were a club full of perennial losers. I love them all, love them as guys, love them as players, but the fact is we were a club full of perennial losers, all right? That's why the rebuild's taken so long. I reflect and I look back and say, okay, Stephen Silvani, he had the task of building this young list. Okay, 1st round draft picks for Marchbank, a 1st round draft pick for Plowman and all that. I wonder, upon reflection, if we were not better off saying using that pick 19 that we got for Zach Tui from Geelong or whatever it was, instead of giving it to GWS for Marchbank, would we have been better served going to a Hawthorn who had just come off 3 flags and saying, here's the pick, here's a 1st round draft pick, give us whoever it was, whoever's there, was it Suckling, who was the one that ended up at Brisbane, obviously Hodge, but who was the other one, whoever his name was, ended up at Brisbane as well. Maybe we would have been better served off doing something similar to that. I mean, I look at when we started our rebuild, this is what a lot of people seem to forget. When we started our rebuild, us in Brisbane were like this. In fact, Melbourne were like this as well. And they've gone, and we've just plateaued. Birchall, that's the one. Thanks, guys. Birchall. They're the types of players, and I know they're not big, sexy names, and you think, oh, no, Marchbank's way better. But these are the people who, the reason the rebuild has taken so long is because we didn't have anyone at the club teaching these guys what it takes to get to the next level. Because as much as we love Kate Simpson, as much as we love Mark Murphy and Eddie Betts and all those old guys who were there, they do not know what it takes to get to the next level because they never got there. They never got there. Okay?
Mate,
Dale Thomas was an interesting one. Obviously got there, won a flag, but you've obviously got to pick the right person to come in. Dale Thomas, clearly being the type of person that he is, we love Daisy. One of the nicest guys, best guys you ever meet. Again, not the type of person who's going to do that. Tom Mitchell for Collingwood, great call from Benjamin. Tom Mitchell will serve that purpose for Collingwood next year. Knows what it takes to get there.
Mate, I think we talked about Geelong on the Blue Abroad show. One of the things I said is people forget about Geelong. is they've backed Scott for the last decade. Whatever he's requested, whatever he's looked for, they haven't questioned it. Where I think exactly what John's alluding to here, the management has always questioned it. Like there is a great article when Sauce left Carlton where he actually confirmed Mitch McGovern was kind of forced on him because there was pressure internally to bring a name in.
There you go.
And it's little things like that where I think a lot of times Carlton have kind of tried to look at it. Like, I know there's a lot of hate, like, you know, when you look at Plowman, but like Plowman for me, I wouldn't mind if we had Plowman, a few Plowmans in the terms of they just play their role. They're not 7 out of 10 footballers, but at the end of the day, they're backups, and that's what Plowman should be. He should be your second player injured in the back line. He's the third cab off the rank. Like, my issue with Carlton is when we go out and trade for players who are perennially injured and they become the backups now. Fogarty never moved on. Carlton take a punt. They are the ones that fucking annoy me. Mitch McGovern was serially injured at Adelaide, but we took a big punt on him. Liam Stocker, very regarded. He couldn't run. That's why Richmond weren't willing to take him. Little things like that annoy me about Carlton, that we've taken risks when Stocker would have been brilliant if Carlton had won the flag that year. All right, cool. Wait on him. But we needed a player to come in and play.
Yeah, I'm with you. And one of the running jokes that we have in my family is on draft night when Shifter Sheehan or whoever it says, oh, this player's likely to slide because he's missed a few months with injury. I'm like, Carlton all over him. You know, as soon as they make that comment, oh, they'll slide because they've had an injury. Oh, it'll fit right in at Carlton because that's what we seem to do. And I like the boy, but Brody Kemp, another perfect example of.
I remember doing his draft. I remember saying to Terry, he's probably the best player in the draft if he played this year, be top 3. I was like, but ignore that. Carlton will take him because he's been out all year with an ACL. And lo and behold,
there he is. There he is. But I do agree with what Lou Foligno said up here, that our list was shit house when Sauce took over. He basically got rid of everyone and had to start. I agree on that. Our list was horrendous. He had to start from scratch. But you didn't have to start from scratch with all kids. Yes, and he brought in the wrong senior players. As good as they were filling that gap, you needed to bring in the senior players who'd been there, achieved it, knew what they were doing. All these Kerridges, Wrights, the myriads of GWS, but Billy Smets, Darcy Lang, they're not the types of players we should have gone after, but they were just, you know, the bigger bodies to help. It's not a failure because I do think we've got the squad now to achieve, but we've only got the squad now to achieve because of the top up players that we brought in, like Hewitt, like Sard, like Chera from other clubs. That's why we're now.
Interesting about that as well. If you go back to 2018, the end of that season, all of Sauce's articles where we need bodies 26 to 28, I look at 4 or 5 and he didn't get one in. And you look at what Nick Austin did within 2 years, he brought that archetype player. Hewitt, big body, mid-age. Chera, on the early side of mid-age, but very experienced for his age. It's weird. I'd love to sit Sauce down over a beer because I suspect someone moved the goalposts a little bit in what he needed. Because I cannot believe. Yeah, I can't believe it because I do remember Bolton saying that halfway through 2019 he was told suddenly they had to win and play their best 22. The plan had changed, and that's what I always think. I think there was people at the club who shit themselves and were like, oh, now Sauce, get McGovern. We've heard of McGovern. And McGovern was very heavily linked, if you look in that draft, at boring players. But they were 25, 26, which he described in the 2018 presentation to the fans as players to protect the bodies of the youth so we can give them games and give them rest. And we never got that. So it's an interesting thing. Thing, isn't it?
The one thing I'll finally say, and this is a little bit of a backhand, the thing that Daddy Fazz says, no good players wanted to go to the Blues. It's not about good players. It's not about that. It's about getting players from a good system. Not the player themselves, getting them from a good system that could walk in a car and say, what the fuck is this shit show? I've just come from Geelong and I've walked into this fucking shit show. Not yet. Not, it's just, yeah. And I think, what players are available, that's going to be my homework over the next couple of days and my last few days of holidays. I'm going to go back and have a look around about that 2016, 17, see which players went elsewhere compared to who we got. Because I'm telling you now, the likes of Birchall and Hodge and that, Sam Mitchell, fancy Sam Mitchell going to fucking Western Australia, West Coast. You telling me we couldn't say Sam Mitchell come to Carlton? But no, he went to West Coast. You're telling me Luke Hodge wanted to go to Brisbane? We couldn't go to Carlton. We had Brendan Bolton there, for fuck's sake. Like, they all loved Brendan Bolton. We could have got half the Hawthorn fucking list at the club. Like, don't tell me we couldn't.
Mate, I agree with you, but, I mean, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? I mean, it's heartbreaking. You depressed me, Fazz. That's it. Let's end it. I mean, my controversial opinion isn't Carlton-based, but hopefully it gets hate. I am a strong advocate that we need to have a 7:45 bounce for the grand final. Under the lights, under the beers. It's way too traditional. All the old people going, oh, but I like to get it out of the way within the afternoon. Fuck that. We drink all day under the lights. There's something magical about sport at the MCG. Big booming lights, late night, getting on the beers together. That is entertainment for me. And I think we need a 7:45, 7:50 bounce MCG under the lights. Do you know what I mean? Have the VFL grand final.
Yes, that's what I said. The only caveat I'll have is it has to be a gala day. That's the thing. A night grand final.
I would have an all day. I would have like the 1 p.m. Vic Metro versus Vic Country. 3 p.m. have the AFLW. 5 have the VFL final. Give it an hour to curate and bring the big boys out.
I couldn't agree more. Do you know why? Like, the AFL is surprised that viewership was down. Do you know why? Because look around the world. What time is fucking 2:30 in the afternoon Australia time around the world? Fuck off, mate. No one's watching it at fucking 3 o'clock in the morning in New York or England or whatever. Put it on at 7:45 at night. That's the way it needs to be. We're so far backwards. Maybe it's once the boomers fuck off, but whatever it is, like, it has to be. It has to be. Because that's all it is, man. Like, it's tradition. Fuck your tradition. It's so much better at night as long as it's a full gala day, because it is a long day, right? It needs to be a full gala day.
Mate, I'm with you. I mean, like I was saying it, I was speaking to actually a list manager this week who was saying that the coverage of the AFL's juniors is appalling. And I was saying the AFL don't see it, though, that they could quite easily bring this to the public attention. I think it's missed revenue. And imagine there was 2 big games over the weekend. Hardly anyone's talked about Country Metro.
And it was a good game.
What scares me is the draft pick number 1 next year actually played as well. So you got a chance to see him a year early, right? Yep. And I'm like, why wasn't this on? You could have moved it to Marvel, but had a day of footy. So because a few people say to me, 2 arguments I hear pushback. The ground will be fucked. Oh, that's okay. Play it at Marvel. Do you know what I mean? Play it at Marvel.
Play at Punt Road.
No, but like for the people who miss out on tickets, have it at Marvel. Do you know what I mean? And then on the night time, charge maybe $5 and have it on the big fucking screen they have. Do you know what I mean? Bring a big screen, amphitheater, double-sided, and say you can get the crowd noise in a stadium after the game. There's money. But the other one as well is, and Amy's just said it, it's a long day of drinking. Pace yourself. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like in England, when your game gets moved, right? It happens all the time, right? It happens all the time. Your game gets moved for security, safety, traffic jams. We don't go, oh, fucking hell, we can't drink. You pace yourself. You go, oh, fuck, we got an extra 4 hours. Tell you what, I'll make mine just a pint. No shots.
The other 2 arguments I hear all the time is, but it throws out the barbecue lunch. Fucking have a barbecue dinner. Like, and the other one is
tactical vomit. Save your life.
But the other one is this one has to be my favorite. As a parent of 2 young kids, this is my favorite. It's past the kids' bedtimes. Well, fucking good. I don't want them up anyway. They're a pain in the ass when the footy's on.
If Gil said to me, ideally, what time would Carlton play? I'd say 9 o'clock because the kids are in bed.
Yeah, I'd say 2 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. So it's true. Like, oh, it's the kids are in bed by then. Okay, look, first of all, what kind of sadistic household are you in that you don't let your kids stay up late on a weekend anyway? And two, if your kid is that young that they have to go to bed at 7:30, then they're not interested in the footy anyway. So what's the issue?
Drinking. Get on the beers. Man. Zach Bell, I can give you a little secret for this. So Fazz will know, when you play European football in the UK, it's 7:45 kickoff in the UK time. So here's a little trick to pace yourself, right? Go out the night before and have a fucking rough one, because then you'll sleep into 2 p.m. And then technically it is an afternoon grand final to you.
Happy days.
Because it's only 5 hours when you wake up. That, Uncle Pom will give you that tip for free.
And Zach Bell, I'm wondering if it is the Zach Bell that I do know, young fella. Yeah, I know his family quite well, and he's not too far off the track there as far as pacing themselves. Great family, the Bell family.
Yeah, honestly, Uncle Pom says just get pissed the night before. Honestly, every time my team has ever made an evening kickoff, that is the plan. Like, you just have the night out before. Like, pre-celebration, get the nerves out of the way.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I couldn't agree more. Do you know what I mean?
Give your kids to someone else. Anyone?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We've all got them mates as well, haven't we? You were like, I'd love kids. Oh, I'd love kids. Now's the chance to prove it and give them it on grand final day.
Yeah. Show me how much you love toddlers on grand final day.
Mate, that is it. Well, we're up to your questions now, so let's get them in. I've got a few saved, and get them in while this plays.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella shit.
You know what? Every Matty I've ever met who actually refers to themselves as Matty is a fucking loose unit.
Yeah, no, big Matty Bell loves it. Good Carlton support too.
You're an animal. You are an animal. Like, everyone I know called Matt is okay, but when they add that E, cooked. Absolute cooked.
All right, let's get these questions.
Let's go to Reds. Let's do it.
She loves her revs.
She does. Everyone, if you do follow Amy, slide into a DM. She's looking for a lovely man. So be nice, though. Be nice. Mickey D. Is Luke Hodge available as a part-time coach? A bit of Hodgester.
I wish. My immediate thought would be if he was, it'd probably end up at North Melbourne with Alistair Clarkson, should he coach there. Unfortunately, I think you kind of got to look at who's at your club. And so we've got Vossi. So now we're going to start, if we're thinking about, because it's all about connections, yeah? So we're going to start thinking about who's from Port Adelaide, who's from Brisbane, who, to come in. I think our time to get ex-Hawthorn people has probably gone since we got rid of Bolton. So yeah, if he was available, I'd love him, but I don't think we'd be the place for him.
I'd say it'd be Port ex-players. I predict a few of them will come over because they love him. They love him.
Yeah, they love Vossi, love him. So yeah, I'm with you. Do you
know what I mean? I can see that. Do you know what I mean? Let's have a look what else we've got. Where do we stand on the 5th interchange player?
It'll change the game because I think you'll see teams play 2 ruckmen. If we had the 5th interchange player, I don't think there'd ever be the debate of De Koning or Pitnet or whoever. They'd play them both. My issue is, I got no issue with it. My only foresight would be what's going to change the conversation in 5 years' time, and they say, oh, well, we lost 3 players, so we need another person. The only thing that I think the way it works is with the interchange cap. It's probably not going to make that big of a difference should you get an injury. So I'm all for having 5, as long as the interchange cap stays.
You see, I was against soccer when they extended it, but I actually think it is so much better Now they've increased it. I think the game runs a bit freer. I love the tactical nous as well, that if a team goes down 1-0 after making 3 subs, suddenly they can have that extra 2 to change the game. I think it makes people guess. And I think in the AFL, like you say, if you were between one ruckman and maybe an extra mid, you having that double option, I think it's good. I think it's good. I actually like it because I hate the medical sub.
Yeah,
like,
medical sub
as soon as they made the medical sub, I was like, this is going to be so great. People are going to start going off with, migraines or bloody tonsillitis or something. Do you know what I mean? Like just cut the middleman and make him an extra interchange.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Might have seen Dow get a few more games this year if he had 5 on the bench too.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I agree with you. Like, I know you're joking and you're trying to wind me up. It's not going to work today. What are your thoughts on Lockie Plowman? I love a Lockie Plowman conversation because it's the quickest way you can lose followers. So let's do it.
I like Lockie Plowman. I like him. I think he's so harshly done by supporters. I think he had a great season, to be honest. Look, he's not without his charm as far as prone to a fuck up here and there, but who isn't? To me, he's his own worst enemy because he looks lackadaisical. He looks like he's not putting in hard. But, I think Libbojrjr has the same issue. I don't think he looks like he works hard, but no one ever criticizes him. So I think people have posted Lockie Plowman and said, bang, he's my target. I'm going to hate on him. I think he was far from our worst this year. He's a good player to have on your list. Best 22? No way, but a good player to have on your list.
Mate, I just think he is just one of them players that, you don't want him playing. Like, he's got to be, I think, moving forward, your 28th best player.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Your 28th best, 29th, 30th player. Like, for me, I don't, and I agree with Quenton here. I think what you're starting to see is top teams don't play a pure lockdown unless they can do something else. But for me, I don't mind him there because at the end of the day, if you have 3 or 4 injuries, at least I know he's going to play. He's going to play the game. He might not be brilliant, but at least he's going to give me a 6 out of 10, and I'm not going to shit myself so much because he can occasionally do his job. But he's one-dimensional.
If he's playing 15 games a season, you're in trouble. But if you can bring him in that June, July period, when Carlton are 10-2 going into the second half of the season, you need to rest a couple of the backmen. He's not a bad player to bring in for a few games here and there, but you don't want him playing any more than 12 games a season, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? No, I'm with you. Do you know what I mean? Change his name. Gaff. One of them things like Ligma or something, so he could just have a little bit of a game with it. And this is a good one. This Charlie Berridge, Brisbane fan. Good day to you. You're a bit salty. Cripps won the Brownlow over Neil after the suspension. Yeah. What do you think? I understand your pain. Yeah. I understand your pain. I do. I'll caveat it with this, though. Right? I'm not going to gloat, but for me,
I will.
No. For me, the AFL go a lot about previous record, and the fact Cripps is an inside midfielder and has been reported once, and usually that goes for you. I don't think anyone could. I know you're a Brisbane fan, so I know it's your boy Neil, but I would look at it this way: that he didn't deserve to be suspended. You can tell Cripps has got no malice intent. He's played over coming up to 200 games soon, and never once made a mistake, which says to me just what his intent is. He's always a fair footballer. In fact, most Carlton fans would say too fair at times and want to see him throw his weight around more. He did go and check on him straight away. I'm sure there's no hard feelings with Archie. It was a shame we missed Archie, but all in all, I think he deserves it. He deserves it. And I think he'd be brutally unlucky if that stuck on his resume. Yeah.
To quote the great Jose Mourinho, I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I'll get in trouble. Pick your audience. My comment on that is fucking Carlton needed a win. I'm so glad we got a win. All right. And Cripps winning the Brownlow is a win. I don't feel bad for Lachie Neale. I don't feel bad for Callum Archie. I'm glad Cripps got the Brownlow. I'm not going to lie about that. Lachie Neale's a gun player. He's a gun player, and he'll probably could win another one. But the reality is, Cripps, deserves every.
I thought I was very mature and responsible there as well. I'm actually proud of my answer there.
I'm very proud of you.
A couple more. We've got Manny. He's got 2. It's a 2-parter. They're bringing in 6 umpires and an extra round of footy. The magic round. What are our thoughts?
The umpires, whatever. To me, more blokes on the field, more opinions means more mistakes. So we'll just see how that goes. And as far as the magic round, again, just depend. It's just going to be another one of those grey area things that it's going to be. I'll use Carlton as an example. Like, let's just say it's in Sydney. We get drawn to play Sydney at the SCG, where Collingwood get drawn to play West Coast at, fucking ANZ Stadium or whatever. Like, it's just going to be another one of those things that'd be like, oh, well, we got the harder draw, or this. It's just, to me, it's just.
Well,
whatever.
You can guarantee when they add an extra, someone's going to play the bottom side, and that's going to be their second game, and they're going to sneak into the 8 and be like, oh, they got North Melbourne. They're shit. Easy 4 points. Like, for me, instead of the magic round, why don't you bring in an extra fucking round and make it we play each other twice? Like, fuck one round. And then, because that is the stupidest thing about our great game, that every year we have a player in the team in the 8. Oh, their round was Mickey Mouse, though. They played North twice and Gold Coast twice. Just ends that argument.
Yeah.
As for extra umpires, the only good thing about that, Manny, is what's better than the amount of umpires when you add a couple more? More people to abuse. And I love that.
Right, me too. And you know what? Start letting goal umpires pay free kicks. Then we might see Harry Mackay kick 100.
You know what I'd like? A meet and greet of umpires.
I'd invite a few over for a barbecue.
Yes, there'd be a few not leaving, I know. Who's your top pick for Carlton in the draft? I think it's been no secret. Bailey Humphrey is my boy in 10. But there's a few in there. Anyone that tickles your pickle, Fazz?
Mate, you've sold me on Humphreys, to be honest. You've sold me. Yeah, absolutely sold me. I've watched your videos, and I'll be watching his name very, very closely.
Mate, he will change your life. Well, I mean, that is all we've got time for. As usual, we've gone 30 minutes over our allotted time because me and Fazz don't care about rules.
That's how we roll.
It's
School holidays. School holidays, mate.
Fuck the system, fight the norm.
I
believe we will be back Friday for the AFL.
Yes. I'm very much looking forward to that. It should be good. Should be good chats. Round ball. Love it. Footy season's nearly finished. Just going to go through this diabolical trade week. And Zachy Bell, if you're still watching, get to cricket training, mate. If you want to open the bowling, get to cricket training.
Hey, mate, I like that. Get him to get down to cricket training. But thank you very much, everyone. Much love. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.